George versus Naylor Graham. Who's here for the plaintiff?
Good morning, Your Honor. We will be representing the plaintiff. May we introduce ourselves?
Yes, please make your appearances.
My name is Rudy Lee, and today I will be direct examining Mr. Murphy Edwards, and I will be cross-examining Ms. Naylor Stagram, along with my co-counsel, and I will also be delivering our closing statement.
Your Honor, my name is Kenzie Cope, and I will be direct examining Carlin George and cross-examining Jackie Gleason, and I will be presenting the opening statement.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Mason Tremel, and I'll be directing Chase Ford and crossing Sean Wallace.
Would you like to introduce witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Juliet Coffey, and I will be portraying the role of Carlin George.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Hannah Montgomery, and I will be portraying the role of Chase Ford.
Good evening, Your Honor. Portraying Murphy Edwards.
Very good. Appearances for defense.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Members of the jury, my name is Catherine Anderson. I will be directing Naylor Stagram, crossing Carlin George, and providing closing arguments. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Members of the jury, my name is Isabel Syons. I will be directing Jackie Gleason and crossing Murphy Edwards.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Mohammed Ikram, and today I will be direct examining Sean Wallace, cross-examining Chase Ford, as well as delivering the defense's opening statement.
And may our witnesses introduce themselves?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Honor. Members of the jury, my name is Ruby Martinez, and I am Sean Wallace. Good evening, Your Honor. Members of the jury, my name is Genevieve Moel, and I am Jackie Gleason.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the jury. My name is Natalie Portillo, and I am Naylor Stagram.
Remain standing, please. Other witnesses rise. Counsel, not you. Lawyers aren't ever under oath because we just never know. Now do that. Witnesses, raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
All witnesses having responded affirmatively, you are now under oath. You will remain under oath for the duration of this proceeding. Be seated. Is there a pretrial for plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. First, may we ask if we can walk about the well during cross-examination, direct examination, openings, and closings?
I'm going to give you freedom of the well with two exceptions. If you wish to approach the bench for any reason, you must ask permission. If you wish to approach a witness for any reason, you must ask permission. Other than that, you may roam around the well.
Yes, Your Honor. And we made a binder with the fact statements, exhibits, as well as the rules of evidence. Would you like it?
All right, has the other side seen your binder?
No, sir.
Please make sure that happens.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry. Do you have to have these marks in front?
It just makes it easier to point out. We can take them off if you want.
We would appreciate it. Just when you're entering, just because the subject matter doesn't change until they're modified in this case. Yes. Okay. Do you have certain rules highlighted, or is it just this?
Or just a...
Okay, I think that's fine first.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
Any issues with the binder, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, approach intended. Thank you. Further pretrial from plaintiff?
No, Your Honor. And with that, the plaintiff is ready and present.
All right, plaintiff having announced ready, pretrial for defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May we also have permission to move about the well during direct examination, cross-examination, opening and closing?
What I said earlier goes for everyone. You have the same permissions they do.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we would also like to move that Exhibit 8 be entered into evidence as it has been stipulated to that Exhibit 8 is admissible.
Counsel, any issues with Exhibit 8 pre-admitted?
No issues, Your Honor.
8 is pre-admitted. It may be used for all purposes throughout the trial.
With that, Your Honor, the defense is ready to proceed.
Defense having announced ready, does the plaintiff have an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed with it.
This case is about fraud, fear, and frustration. The fraud that Ms. Naylor Stagram committed by lying to all of her followers. The fear that Ms. Carlin George faced the night that the monsoon hit. And the frustration that everyone felt when the satire spectacle went wrong. On June 29, 2018, Ms. George took the defendant's advice and attended the satire spectacle, hoping to see her favorite person and comedian, the defendant. Ms. George bought this ticket because she was an avid follower of the defendant and truly believed her when she said that the festival is going to be amazing. On June 18th, Ms. George bought the ticket, a $2,500 ticket, to attend the satire spectacle, based on the positive information given to her by the defendant. Once she got to the island, she realized that all the positive information she had been given was completely false. There was not enough tents for everyone to sleep in, not enough food for everybody to eat, and not enough water for everybody to drink. Miss George was so thirsty the next day and since there was no water left, she drank from a puddle of rainwater left over from the monsoon that had hit the night before. She later went to the hospital where she was treated for waterborne bacteria and dehydration. If only the defendant had canceled the event, we wouldn't be here right now. Now the defense will try to tell you that the defendant isn't responsible, that she wasn't in charge. But in reality, the defendant held all the power in her hands to stop this event, but chose not to. And actually, she threatened the creator of the satire spectacle, Ms. Chase Ford, and said that if Ms. Ford were to cancel the event, then the defendant would use her fame and power to make sure that Ms. Ford never held another party again. Today, you will hear from none other than Ms. Carlin George, who will explain the traumatic experience she faced while on the island. Next, you will hear from the creator of the satire spectacle, Ms. Chase Ford. And lastly, Mr. Murphy will talk about the harsh working conditions and the mistreatment he faced while working on construction for the satire spectacle. More likely than not, you will see by the end of this case that Ms. Instagram is the one responsible for the illness of Ms. George and should be held accountable for her actions. Thank you.
Opening for defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. A puzzle is put together piece by piece. If you fail to have even one piece of that puzzle, then you cannot have the full picture. It is always the smaller pieces that end up making your larger image. In this case today, my client, Naylor Stagram, did not have the full picture. While promoting the satire spectacle, crucial pieces of information were withheld from her by the event organizer himself, Chase Ford. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Mohammed Ikram, and today I, along with my co-counsel Catherine Anderson and Isabel Science, proudly represent the defendant, Naylor Stagram. And today, as the defense, we hold no burden of proof. That responsibility lies solely and only with the plaintiff today. And today they must prove to you, by preponderance of the evidence, all four of the elements of fraud. They must prove, one, that my client made a material statement of opinion as a positive assertion. Two, that she made this statement whilst knowing that it was false and made it with the intent for it to be acted upon. Three, that the plaintiff reasonably relied on this statement. And four, that as a result of such reliance, the plaintiff suffered an injury. And once again, if the plaintiff fails to prove to you even one of these elements, or even one piece of these elements, then you cannot find my client responsible today. Today, the plaintiff will call up 3 of their own witnesses. They will call up Murphy Edwards, Chase Ford, as well as the plaintiff herself, Carlin George. We anticipate that Murphy Edwards will testify that he blames Chase Ford for what happened, and that he is determined to be paid by anybody for the work that he did on the island, and furthermore, he is being paid to testify here today. Next, we anticipate that Chase Ford will come up and testify that he was surprised when Naylor kept promoting the event after he voiced his concerns to her. Yet, it was her job to keep promoting the event, and it was part of their contract. Finally, we anticipate that the plaintiff herself will come up and testify that she heard about the lack of materials, she saw the lack of materials on the island, and heard that it was behind. Yet she stayed on the island because of the lack of a chirp by a paid promoter, not because of the reliance on a statement. Next, we will bring up our own 3 witnesses. We will bring up Jackie Gleason, Naylor Graham, as well as Sean Wallace. We anticipate Jackie Gleason will come up and testify that she told Naylor that there was still room for tents to be put up on the island, and that Naylor was completely satisfied with everything that Chase had told her about the progression of the event up until that point. Next, Sean Wallace will come up and testify that Chase Ford lied to her about the progression of the event, and that Chase Ford changed up the entire food order at the very last second, in causing Sean Wallace to go through an incredible amount of stress to get it done. Finally, the defendant herself will come up and testify that she cannot conclude anything from looking at the work site and looking at the construction site. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are here today for a reason. My client is being wrongly accused of defrauding the plaintiff, and today the plaintiff must prove to you every single one of the elements of fraud mentioned before. If they fail to prove even one of these elements, then you cannot find my client responsible. Once again, it is always the smaller pieces that make up your larger image, and they cannot be missing from the puzzle. Thank you.
Plaintiff, call your first witness.
The plaintiff would like to call Carlin George to the stand. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hello, my name is Carlin George.
And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 25 years old. I live right here in Texoma, and I love comedy.
So why are we here today, Miss George?
Well, we're here for 2 reasons. 1, because Naylor's the reason I attended the festival, and 2, the reason that I almost died.
So you say that Naylor made you attend the festival. Why do you say that?
Well, after seeing Naylor's incessant amount of chirps, I really wanted to go to the festival, and because of all the great things that Naylor said about it, I wanted to go.
So what was the festival?
Well, it was basically a 2-day event, just like a huge party with the best comedians, and I was super excited.
And how much did you spend to go to this festival?
$2,500.
Was that just for your ticket?
Yes.
So what happened when you got to the festival?
Well, whenever I first got there, it was fine. The first few hours were glorious. The comedians were good, and but then it started going downhill from there.
What do you mean?
Well, then people started freaking out because there wasn't enough tents for everyone. I was supposed to stay in a villa, and we were staying in refugee tents.
And why did you rely on Naylor in the first place?
Well, I had followed Naylor for a long time, and I had trusted her. I had bought products from her before, and they had been just like she described, so I thought, why would this be any different?
And how did you get to the festival?
Well, we got there on a ferry. It was kind of rustic, but we were willing to look past it for what was ahead.
So what happened the night you got to the festival?
Objection, Your Honor. This question calls for a narrative.
Okay? I'm not sure it does, but I'm going to warn everyone, I don't like narrative. Overruled for now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So what happened the night you got to the festival?
Well, after everybody realized that there wasn't enough tents, it went crazy. I ended up having to share a tent with 2 other people, and there wasn't enough food or water either, so I ended up sharing just 2 pieces of bread, cheese, meat, or tomatoes and lettuce with 2 other people, and we only had 2 bottles to split between us.
Were there any more problems that night?
Yes, there was. A monsoon hit the island and proved how flimsy our tents were. The monsoon and the wind tore a hole right through the top, so we were soaking wet. Our things were soaking wet, and we were having to try to sleep during the monsoon.
And what happened the morning after?
Well, the morning after, I'd been restless, rolling, not able to sleep. It was just so hot and humid. All I could think about was how thirsty I was. So I went to go look around to see if there was any water bottles on the ground or a stand open where I could get some water. And I searched and searched, but I couldn't find anything.
So what did you do when you couldn't find anything?
Well, there was rainwater, and with nothing else to drink, I drank the rainwater.
And what effect did that have on you?
Well, at first, it actually made me feel better. I got back to the tent, but after my friend came to tell me that the fairies had arrived, I tried standing up and I threw up. It felt like my stomach was collapsing inside of me.
And did you go to the hospital or anything?
Well, I don't know how much time passed, but after I was found, they did take me to the hospital.
And why did you go to this festival?
I went because Naylor advertised it, and I wanted the chance to meet Naylor and my favorite comedian, Jackie Gleason. I thought it was a good opportunity to learn from the best comedians in the business.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross,
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
you may.
Miss George, when you first arrived at the Satire Spectacle, you described the island as being crazy, correct?
Yes, there was chaos when they realized that there wasn't enough tents for everybody.
And you said that there was also a lack of food and water at this island, correct?
That's correct.
So would you say that there were not enough accommodations for you to stay on this island?
Yes,
But you did decide to stay on the island, correct?
I did. I trusted Naylor, and I thought maybe the event could salvage something.
You thought the event could salvage something?
Like there was something salvageable in the event. Maybe something could get better.
And why did you think this?
Well, there's always hope.
And you got this hope from the lack of a chirp from Naylor, correct?
I'm sorry, can you restate that for me?
You got this hope from the lack of a chirp from Naylor Stagram, correct?
No.
You didn't get this hope that the festival would get better from the lack of a chirp from Naylor? Is that your testimony that that's false?
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Is it your testimony that you did not get hope that the event would get better from the lack of a chirp from Naylor?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Miss George, I don't understand how I can make this any clearer. You got hope that the event would get better because Naylor did not post a chirp, correct?
I trusted Naylor, and that's why I stayed. And I
Miss
thought...
George, that wasn't my question. You got your hope because Naylor didn't post a chirp. It's yes or no.
No.
You didn't. That is your testimony. It is your testimony that this hope did not come from the lack of a chirp from Naylor.
No.
And do you believe this is the truth? Your Honor, may I approach the witness with her fact statement?
Yes, show it to the other side.
Yes, Your Honor. Please let the record reflect that I am tendering a copy of this fact statement to opposing counsel for identification purposes only. When I approach the witness with the fact statement, I will inform you of what page I am reading from. This is the addendum. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
is this your fact statement? Is it your fact statement?
Yes, it is.
And is this your signature signed and sworn to on the 10th of April 2019?
Yes, it is.
Now, will you please read in your head as I read aloud from page 2, line 40 through 42. It occurred to me that I might try to hitch a ride back to Texoma on one of the ferries that was dropping people off, but I trusted Instagram. And when I checked Chirpster, there was nothing from Instagram about potential problems at the island. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
But it was just your testimony that this lack of a chirp from Naylor
Objection,
did not give you hope,
relevance.
correct?
Her fact statement says nothing about having hope or not having hope.
I think relevance is not the proper objection, so overruled.
But wasn't it just your testimony that you didn't think the event would get better because of the lack of a chirp from Naylor?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't think I understood your question correctly.
You just testified that you did not get hope because from Naylor's not posting, correct? It's a yes or no question, Miss George.
Yes, I know, ma'am. Is there any other way that you can phrase the question?
Miss George, did you say in your fact statement, did I read your fact statement correctly, when you said that you decided to stay because Miss DeGram did not post?
I decided to stay because I trusted Naylor.
And you trusted her because she did not post, correct?
I trusted Naylor because of the long relationship that I had built
That's
up.
not my question, Miss George. You trusted Naylor when she did not post, correct?
Yes, I did trust Naylor.
And you took this lack of a post as a good thing, correct?
No,
You
but
didn't,
I still trusted Naylor.
Miss George, you didn't take this lack of a post as a good thing? But wasn't it the determining factor for you staying on the island? Miss George, it's a yes or no. Was this lack of a chirp the determining factor for you staying on the island?
I trusted that Naylor was
Miss George, that is not my question. Your Honor, this witness is being unresponsive.
The witness is being non-responsive, so I'm going to sustain that as an objection. Witness is instructed that you must answer the question asked. Answer yes or no where it's possible. Explain only where necessary to make your answer truthful and complete. And do not ramble beyond the scope of the question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Was this lack of a chirp the determining factor for you staying on the island?
No.
It wasn't? So what I just read from your fact statement is false?
It says that I trusted Naylor, and that was my reason for staying.
Mr. Graham, did you not say that when you checked Chirpster, there was nothing from Instagram about potential problems on the island?
Yes, it said that.
And so because she didn't post anything, you stayed on the island, correct?
That's not the reason.
Mr. Graham, you said in your fact statement that was the reason. You said that you stated in your fact statement that you stayed because Instagram did not post about any potential problems on the island, correct?
Objection, hearsay. She never says anything about staying or not staying. It's just saying that she checked Chirpster.
Okay, I also think hearsay is not the correct objection, but be careful, counsel. Do not mischaracterize the fact statement.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Miss George, is it fair to say that you put your trust in this lack of a chirp from Naylor over your observations on the island? You valued this more?
I valued my trust in Naylor.
And you valued this over the lack of food you saw, correct?
Correct.
And you valued this over the lack of tents you saw, correct?
That's right.
And you valued this over the chaos on the island, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
No redirect. The witness is excused. You may step down. Call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. We call Chase Ford instead. Miss Ford, would would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Chase Ford.
And would you mind telling me about yourself?
Yeah, I'm 33 years old and I'm a business entrepreneur.
You say you're an entrepreneur. Would you tell us about some of your past businesses?
Yes, so I've been an entrepreneur for ever, since middle school. And my first business was where I got some of the smart students in school together to help those who struggled with their homework, just to help them figure it out and complete it.
And what was your most recent business venture?
My most recent business adventure was my company, Vision Incorporated.
And what did you do through the company Vision?
Through Vision, I created the Satire Spectacle.
And how did this idea come to you?
Well, let me tell you, it's super interesting. Okay, so if you know me, I am a huge fan of parties and the beach. So I was at a comedy club one night because why wouldn't I be? And the comedian on stage was telling a joke about the beach. And then this idea hit me. I was like, whoa, what if I hold a party at Yarborough Island, which is a beach because it's an island, and the main attraction there is comedy. There's really nothing like that. And so I was like, great idea.
Might I ask, what is your relation to the defendant?
Naylor Stagram was our main advertiser for the Satire Spectacle.
And how did you meet Miss Stagram?
I had a few run-ins with Naylor Stagram. I officially met her at Miami during spring break, but I really met her at a fashion show in LA.
And what did you propose to her?
So I proposed to Naylor that if she joined our company, she'd get 10% of each ticket she sold from a specific internet link that she could put in her chirps, and that she would get a $100,000 upfront payment.
And why did you hire Naylor in particular?
I hired Naylor Stagram because Sean Wallace, the person I hired to supply the event with food and swag and merchandise and things like that, Sean required a ridiculous down payment, more than I've seen in my entire career. And I was like, dude, there's no way we can pay this, and if you don't work, we're gonna have to find another company. And Sean said that.
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay. She just testified to what Sean said. There's a
Counsel, respond to hearsay.
No response, Your Honor.
No response? Sustained?
Thank you.
But anyway, so Naylor joined the project. What happened? How was the project going before Naylor joined?
It was not going well. Our PR firm just was atrocious at their job.
And how about after Naylor joined the project?
It was going really well. Our ticket sales skyrocketed.
But what happened after this boost in sales?
Well, about 2 weeks before the event, I started noticing that things weren't going as planned. The buildings of the villas and the stages were moving entirely too slow. So I talked with some of my business partners and we decided to cancel the event. But I didn't think that was okay to do without Naylor's permission because she was very important to our operation and I thought she should be involved in it.
Did you relay this information to Naylor?
I did. I called Naylor on the 16th of June to let her know that she could come to the island on the 18th to check everything out.
And what happened at this meeting with Naylor?
Well, when I met with Naylor, things were going great at first. I told her that I had really bad concerns about the event, that it wasn't going to work out. And I told her that we should try to cancel the event. And then it just went way downhill after that.
How did Miss Stagram react to this news?
Oh, she reacted very poorly. It was awful.
Would you mind elaborating on very poorly?
Yeah, so after I finished telling Naylor all the things that I just told you, she flipped out. And when I mean flipped out, she flipped out. She started saying things like she has
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay once again. This witness is testifying to what Naylor Stagram said.
Counsel, response to hearsay.
Your Honor, she's testifying what the plaintiff said. Is that not information that is available from the courtroom?
Counsel, you need to respond to the hearsay objection. We need to hear a legal response to it.
Apologies. She is stating something said by the defendant in this case, someone who's in the courtroom. Therefore, should they not be allowed to say what someone else in this room said, in this court had said?
Okay, you are correct that it is a statement made by the defendant. Counsel, you want to respond to that?
Your Honor, this is a statement made by the defendant, yet the witness is still testifying to what she said, and therefore it is hearsay.
Okay, there's actually an exception to hearsay for statements made by a party opponent, so on this basis, I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes,
Anyway, Naylor started saying things like she has a bunch of fame and power, and she wasn't afraid to use those things to hurt me, to destroy my business. And I told her that, like, we had to cancel it. And she just said that I had to work harder to try to get this done.
And how would you classify her threats?
I feel that these threats were extortion.
And
objection, Your Honor. This is more prejudicial than probative. This puts a more prejudicial light in the jury, and it furthers the probative value that this fact has in the case.
Counsel, response?
Your Honor, is the witness not allowed to state what she believed in her opinion on the situation she went through?
Okay, I don't think counsel's objecting to the witness's opinion. I think he's objecting to the language used. What do you think about that?
I could restate the question, Your Honor. I could rephrase
Why
the
don't
question.
we back up and try that again? I'm going to sustain that objection. Anything else you want?
Your Honor, I move to strike this response from the record.
Okay, I'm going to strike that response. In particular, I'm going to strike the word extortion from the record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Ford, after these threats were made to you, who did you feel was in control of the situation?
I felt like Naylor Stagram was in control of the situation.
And in that case, what happened after Naylor took control from you?
Well, we did what Naylor said. I worked extra hard to get this event going. And at the day of the event, things were pretty well put together. Yeah.
And what did this make you feel like?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. It is not relevant in any way what this made the witness feel like.
Counsel, what is the relevance?
Your Honor, it is the witness's feelings and opinions on how the threats of the defendant made her feel.
Okay, I think that's relevant, so I'm going to overrule it.
Yes, thank you.
Would you mind asking the question, Ken?
Apologies. So, what did you feel like after Naylor made these threats to you?
After Naylor threatened me, I felt like she was puppeteering me. Like she was controlling me, like she was defying my fate.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, cross.
Yes, Your Honor. May I ask the timekeepers how much time our side has for cross-examination?
Time report.
You have 14 minutes left.
Thank you. After you mentioned your concerns to Naylor, and once Naylor left the island, you were surprised when Naylor kept promoting the event head-on, is that correct?
That is correct.
And in your contract, it specifically states that it was her job to do that, correct?
Yes, but I didn't expect her to lie about the event.
Objection, Your Honor. The testified to facts, not evidence.
Okay, explain, please.
There is no contract in the evidence that they can testify to.
Counsel?
Your Honor, this witness made and looked at the contract. She has complete personal knowledge of what this contract entails, therefore she can properly testify to what is written in the contract.
Is there anything in the record pertaining to this contract at this point?
Yes, the question about Naylor, it was her job to keep promoting it.
Okay, I don't think so. I'm going to sustain the objection. I believe you can fix that.
Yes, Your Honor. May I approach the witness with what has previously been marked as Exhibit 10?
You may.
Let the record reflect. I am tendering this document to opposing counsel for identification purposes only. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Do you recognize this document? This is a yes or no question. Please answer.
Yes.
And what is this document?
This is the promotion agreement between myself and Naylor Stagram.
And was this made at or near the time of the events in question?
Yes.
And has this been changed, altered, or modified in any way?
No.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter what has previously been marked as Exhibit 10 into evidence.
Any objections to 10?
No, Your Honor.
Stand when you address the court.
No, Your Honor.
No objections, the document is admitted, it is in.
Thank you, Your Honor. And right here, if you follow along on Instagram's responsibilities, Instagram's representations and warranties of number 3, the promotion agreement, will you please read along in your head as I read out loud. 3A, Instagram will use best efforts to post about the event on Churchster no less than the frequency described in paragraph 1. 3B, Instagram will only post positive, non-derogatory comments about the event. 3C, Instagram will take all responsible efforts to ensure that no adverse publicity or commentary about the event appears on Instagram's Churchster account. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So, it was part of this contract that Naylor had to keep promoting the event and only post positive things about it. Is that correct?
That is correct, but I didn't expect her to lie about the event.
It was her job up until that point. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but she knew that was going downhill.
The contract was still live, and it was in the contract that she had to keep promoting the event. Please answer with a yes or no.
And that is correct.
Thank you. And when the event first started, when you first got Instagram on board, you went to the island to start sprucing up the compound. Is that correct?
That's right.
And you put all of your efforts in this, sprucing it up for VIP guests. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yet when the event started, there weren't even enough tents for the participants to stay in. Is that correct?
That's correct. My managers just weren't on top of it.
Yet you are the owner of this event. Is that correct?
And that is correct.
You hired those managers. Is that correct?
And that is correct.
And you were focusing all of your attention on the compound. And when the event started, there weren't enough tents for the attendees. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say all my attention.
You were focusing the main part of your attention on the compound. And when the event started, there weren't enough tents for the attendees. Is that correct? Thank you. And you got into a private club to get Instagram on board, is that correct?
Yes.
And you got in without an invitation, is that correct?
That is correct. That wasn't the time I got Instagram on board, but yes.
That was one of the times that you spoke with him, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And only after did Naylor tell you to keep on going with the event is when you focused most of your attention on getting the main parts of the event complete, is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? The question was kind of long.
Yes, when Instagram came up to you, when Instagram came to the island, and you spoke with her about your concerns, and after she left, she told you, only after that, did you start to focus most of your attention on the main parts of the island. Is that correct?
That is correct, but she threatened me. I had no other choice.
And you stated in your direct examination that you felt like Naylor was in control of this event. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yet you were the CEO and owner of Vision. Am I correct?
Yes, but she threatened me in my business. She just was, yeah.
But you were still the owner, and you said that you felt like Instagram was in control of your event. Correct?
Yes, because she
The event that you came up with, correct?
Yes, because she threatened me.
I pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
Redirect. No redirect. Witness is excused. Please step down. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Murphy Edwards to the stand. Good morning. Can you please turn to the jury and introduce yourself?
I am Murphy Edwards.
And how are you involved in the spectacle?
I was hired to build and take down the stage for the spectacle.
And when were you hired?
I was hired on June 6th.
And what did you do, and when did you get to the island?
Well, we were scheduled to get to the
Objection, Your
island.
Honor. Compound question. He asked, and what he did once he got to the island after establishing if he went at all.
Okay, let's be careful about question form. I think that may have been compound. Please write it out, counsel. Objection sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Alright, let's backtrack. So when did you get to the island?
Well, we were scheduled to get to the island on June 14th, but the seaplane that was promised to us never arrived. So me and my crew had to crash in the hangar until June 15th, when a boat came and got us.
When you finally got to the island, what was the first impressions?
Oh, my first impression was it was awful. There were a severe lack of materials just for building the stage. There weren't even materials for stairs. We had to make our own out of plywood.
Did anything stand out to you?
Mostly the lack of materials along with lack of resources such as adequate housing and food.
And before we go any further, do you have any prior experiences with building and construction?
Oh yeah, big time. In Texoma City where I live, I was a part-time roadie at the Me Electronics Stadium in Texoma. So I have lots of experience building stages.
And when you were there, did they treat you correctly?
Oh no. Me and my crew were verbally abused constantly by our boss, Vinny.
And Mr. Edwards, are you being paid to be here right now?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a leading question. Leading questions under 611C are only allowed to use to further witnesses' testimony, but this question right here is introducing new evidence that has not been asked in a non-leading form.
Counsel, your response to the objection on leading question?
My apologies, Your Honor. No response.
No
No
response?
response.
Okay, then I'll sustain it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So how did you work at the Satire Spectacle till the very end?
No, I was fired.
Objection, Your Honor. That is another leading question. Yes, did he work till the end of the Satire Spectacle? I feel there's another way to ask this in a non-leading form.
Counsel, what do you think?
I think that is a fair question.
Okay, do you think it's leading or not?
I do not think it's leading.
I agree. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Could you repeat the question?
Did you work at Satire Spectacle till the day it opened?
No, I was fired on June 18th.
Well, why were you fired? You had so much prior experience with construction, which is what your job was.
Well, I was fired because I was pointing out the facts about how the festival was going to be a disaster to my boss, Vinny, and he couldn't handle the truth.
And how did you know that day was June 18th, that you got fired?
Because that is the day I saw Mrs. Instagram and talking to Chase Ford.
And what was Instagram's emotions that you could see?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge. The question being asked is what Instagram is feeling, and this witness does not have the knowledge to testify to her state of mind.
Counsel, your response?
This is a census site, what he could see. This is not
Is
his
that what you
true.
asked? Or did you ask what Instagram was feeling?
I asked what emotions he could see.
Okay, I'm
Verbal
not sure you did.
communication.
I'm going to let you rephrase the question. Sustain.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What was Miss Instagram's? What did you notice about Miss Instagram?
I think that she seemed very, very upset.
And why do you think that is?
It seemed that Chase Ford said something to Miss Instagram.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Overruled. I think this is within his observation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It seemed that Chase Ford said something to Miss Instagram that she didn't like very much.
And after the conversation was over, what happened?
Mr. Graham stormed off in a helicopter.
And last question for you, Mr. Edwards. As a construction worker for this Satire Spectacle, did you think that it would be a success?
No, I thought it was going to be a failure from the start.
And why is that?
Mostly because of the lack of housing, lack of food, lots of lacks, lack of materials.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
You were only paid $112 from Vision, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you are furious about this, right?
No, not furious. I would say I'm pretty upset.
You're not furious about not getting paid?
Well, as anyone would be, I was pretty angry, but
But you are not furious about not getting paid.
could you rephrase the question?
Are you furious about not getting paid, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, as much as anyone else would be.
So you're saying yes to my question now, that you are furious?
Yes.
Okay. And it was not Instagram that owned Vision, is that correct?
Yes, it was Chase Ford.
So would it be fair to say you're furious at Chase Ford?
Yes.
Okay. And to tie you to the Satire Spectacle, you are bound by a contract, is that correct?
Yes, I was hired to build and take down the stage.
Your Honor, at this moment, may I approach the witness with what's been previously marked as 7-1 and 2.
Granted.
Let the record reflect I'm tendering this document for identification purposes only. 7-1 and 2. I'm going to be referencing point 2, starting mid-sentence, I'll clarify again, and then the non-disclosure agreement. Right. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Can you please identify this document for me?
This is the employment agreement between me and Vision.
And that is your signature signed on this contract, is that correct?
Yes.
And this contract was made at or near time the satire spectacle.
Yes.
Has it been changed, altered, or modified in any way?
No.
And is a contract like this made regularly in the course of business?
Yes.
And is a contract like this kept in a regular course of business?
Yes.
Now, following along, sorry, Your Honor. At this moment, I offer to move Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objections to 7?
No objections, Your Honor.
7's in.
Thank you. Now, going to Section 2, Vision's responsibility, starting at the word vision mid-paragraph. Read in your head as I read out loud. Vision shall provide employee with transportation from Texoma to Yarborough Island, accommodations at Yarborough Island from June 14th to July 2nd, 2018, and food and water for the same period, all at no cost to the employee, or to employee. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And in your direct, you state you're promised a seaplane, is that right?
Yes.
And you also state you're promised, was it motels?
Yes, it was.
But nowhere in Vision's responsibility does it state that you are being offered these things.
Yes.
Okay? And may I approach the witness again now?
Sure.
Okay. So now I'm going to be referring to the non-disclosure agreement on the back. And again, reading in your head as I read out loud, starting from the very beginning. Employee hereby agrees to refrain from disclosing any information, including but not limited to the accounts or descriptions of the island of the event, whether in words or pictures, learned during the course of the employment at any time during the term of this agreement. Did I read everything correctly?
You did.
And you didn't mention sending the pictures to Jason Pierce one day after working, is that right?
Yes.
So would it be fair to say you can get a lot done in one day of working?
It's fair to say that.
But you still sent the pictures knowing you would break your contract.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you still feel Vision broke the contract before you did.
Could you repeat the question?
At the end of the day, you still feel Vision broke the contract before you did.
Yes, because I wasn't paid.
You weren't paid the $112,
No, I wasn't paid the $20 an hour. There was wrong.
but you are aware you broke the contract, is that correct?
Yes.
So it is fair to say you're not getting paid for not doing your job.
Yes.
And in fact, going to the day you were fired, this was June 18th, that's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And this is also the same day you saw Instagram on the island, right?
That's correct.
And seeing Instagram with Chase Ford, you have no knowledge of who Instagram was or ever seen them, or sorry, let me rephrase my question. You've never seen Instagram before this day, is that correct?
Yes, but she is a famous social media influencer.
But my question was, you have never seen her in person before this day of the event.
Not personally.
And you also have no knowledge of what conversation her and Chase Ford had, is that correct?
No, but I can infer with my eyes that she was upset.
But you have no knowledge of what was said in the conversation between her and Chase Ford, is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I pass the witness. And at this moment, may I publish Exhibit 7-1 to the jury?
No, we're going to hold publication until the end of the case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, may I redirect?
You may.
Mr. Edwards, why did you send those pictures to Jason Pierce?
I did because I feel that I was like helping by keeping people from going to the island and the disaster worsening.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
Recross.
No recross, Your Honor.
Witness is excused. You may step down. What else from the plaintiff?
We have no more witnesses, Your Honor.
So what is the status of your case?
The plaintiff rests.
Plaintiff having rested, defense call your first witness.
The defense calls Neil Instagram to the stand. May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, I'm Neil Instagram and I'm 24 years old.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an actor slash model slash professional influencer. You know, just hashtag living the life.
What is a professional influencer?
Basically, I just promote a bunch of things on social media and get my followers to buy them.
What kind of things have you promoted?
I've promoted many things, from like teas to package deals to even events.
What events have you promoted?
I've promoted Satire Spectacle, which doesn't really make sense to me, because what do glasses even have to do with comedy?
Can you explain to the jury what the Satire Spectacle was?
Well, it was supposed to be this big event with like comedy on the beach and so many glamorous things.
What do you mean by supposed to be?
Well, a freaking monsoon hit the island.
Mr. Graham, how did you become involved with the Satire Spectacle?
Well, I had first heard about it in Miami when over spring break, and Chase Ford came up to me, but I was super busy modeling for Abercrombie and Itch at that point, so I just couldn't take up any offers.
Who is Chase Ford?
Chase Ford is the organizer of this event and the owner of Vision.
What is Vision?
Vision is the company that put on this event.
And if you passed up on this first offer, how did you eventually come to be involved with this event?
Well, later in a fashion show in LA, he came up to me with actual promotional material and a deal that I could just not pass up.
What did you do when he came to you with this offer?
Well, I got my amazing agent, Ari Silver, to talk to his people, and then they made an agreement.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what has already been entered as Exhibit 10?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Graham, what was required of you as part of this agreement with Vision?
I was supposed to chirp about the event 4 times a week leading up to May 31st and 6 times a week from June 1st to June 30th. Also, only speak positively about the event and to block out anything negative to appear on my Chirpster account.
And what was required of Vision as part of this agreement?
They were supposed to give me $100,000 in a lump sum payment and 10% of every ticket sold from my link.
Mr. Graham, where was the Satire Spectacle supposed to take place?
It was supposed to take place on Yarborough Island.
Did you ever visit Yarborough Island?
Yes, I did, about 10 or so days before the event.
And what did you do when you first arrived at the island?
Well, I first landed on a helicopter, and then I walked across the island to the compound.
What did you see when you walked across the island?
I saw the island in full-on construction mode, and nasty squatty potties, but everything seemed to be in place.
Can you please tell the jury what the compound is that you referenced?
The compound is this house that's spruced up on the island where all the A-list celebrities, like myself, were supposed to stay.
And what did you do once you arrived at the compound?
Well, I was chit-chatting with Chase Ford.
And what did the two of you talk about?
Well, he kept going on and on about how amazing this event was going to be.
Was there anything else that he told you?
Yes, how we were about to reach our ticket number sales.
And did you ever hear anything to contradict these things?
Yes, I did, but I had to block them out immediately.
And why did you have to block them out?
Because clearly, in my in my contract, it says that I have to.
And can you please tell the jury what you're referring to when you say you have to block them out?
Well, I had to block out any adverse publicity.
And who was this adverse publicity?
It was a blog post about this dude named Jason Pierce.
And what did you think when you first read this blog post?
Well, when I had the main organizer by my side, I didn't think anything of it.
And can you remind the jury who the main organizer was?
Chase Ford.
So what did you think of the credibility of Jason Pierce's blog post?
Well, when I had Chase Ford by my side telling me that everything was fine, I thought I had all the pieces to the puzzle and there was no need for me to listen.
Mr. Graham, did you ever return to Yarborough Island after your first visit with Chase?
No.
Why not?
Because a very close personal friend of mine whose name I cannot say, went into rehab, and I just had to go attend to that.
So did you ever actually attend the satire spectacle?
No.
And did you ever learn what happened at this event?
Yes, I did. I saw it on Chirpster.
And what did you learn about this event?
Well, that a monsoon hit the island.
How did you react when you heard this?
Well, since it was unexpected, I just felt really bad for the people on the island, but there was absolutely nothing I could do.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
Mr. Graham, you said that you took the job because you saw a deal that you could not pass up, right?
Yes.
And was that deal that you could make a ton of money? $100,000, if you want to be specific.
Could you please re-ask the question?
Was that deal that you could not pass up, that you could make $100,000 off of promoting this agreement, promoting Satire Spectacle?
It was not just the lump sum payment, it was about also the 10% from the ticket sales.
And you visited the island on June 18th, correct?
Yes, I did.
And that was about 2 weeks before the opening of it, correct?
Just about.
And you said that you saw a lot of construction going on, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me when I say that if an event as large as a Satire Spectacle were to take place only 2 weeks from the day you saw it, and it was in that condition, measures should be made to cancel or postpone it?
Objection, Your Honor. This question calls for speculation.
I will overrule that.
Your Honor, I'd like to launch another objection on lack of personal knowledge. This witness is not...
It's the same objection, overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Now, the Satire Spectacle was to take place in 2 weeks, and there was a lot of construction going on, right?
Well, I don't work in construction, so I really wouldn't know.
You said that you did see a lot of construction, correct?
Yes, I did.
And the event was supposed to hold about 5,000 people, right?
Yes.
And so did you think that in 2 weeks it could be ready for 5,000 people to attend it?
Well, since I don't work in that area, I wouldn't be sure.
So is that a yes or no?
I don't know.
All right. And you when you visited this island, you talked to Mr. Ford, right?
Yes, I did.
And did you threaten Mr. Ford about ruining his reputation if he were to cancel or postpone this event?
No.
So Mr. Ford is lying when he says that you threatened to ruin his reputation?
Well, I don't have control over what he says.
It's a yes or no question. Do you think Mr. Ford lied?
I don't know if he lied or not. I'm not him.
You don't know if you threatened Mr. Ford.
Objection, Your Honor. This question is asking my witness to testify to another witness's state of mind.
Counsel, response?
She said the words, and she was in this conversation. As a member of the conversation, she should know what she said.
Sustained. You're going to have to work around that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Alright, moving on. You advertised this as glamping, correct? The atmosphere of the event?
Yes, because it was supposed to be glamorous.
Yet, the housing at the event were FEMA tents, correct?
Well, I wasn't in control of that, but yeah.
And do you know that FEMA tents are used during a crisis?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge.
Counsel?
She should know this. It happened after the event was taking place, and she saw what they are herself.
How does she know what fingerprints are typically used for? That's what you asked her.
No response, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, So, after seeing the island state, you continue to advertise the big event, correct?
Yes, because it was in my contract, and unlike other people, I don't break my contracts.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as 1-3.
1-3?
Exhibit 1-3.
Okay, counsel, clarify for me. I haven't heard of that one. I have
It's
heard of
exhibit
Exhibit 1.
Exhibit 1,
And
yes.
it's not marked as 1-3?
Well, it has 5 different parts, and for the sake of this, I only need her to see this part. Would you like me to show her? To complete?
I'm going to let you work with Exhibit 1 as it has been admitted.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going to let you work with anything other than Exhibit 1 as it has been admitted.
Your Honor, Exhibit 1 has not been admitted.
I thought that it had been. It has not been
It
admitted?
has not been admitted.
All right, is that true, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then we'll back up and you may lay foundation for Exhibit 1. Let's refer to it by the correct exhibit number.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what has been marked as Exhibit 1?
You may.
May the record reflect that I have shown opposing counsel Exhibit 1?
Will you please remove the markers you have on the exhibit? Thank you.
Mr. Graham, can you please tell us what these are?
Oh, these are my chirps, but on paper.
And is this your Instagram handle right here? Or your Chirpster handle?
Yes.
And have you let anybody else access this account?
No, it's just my account.
So these are your chirps?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Opposing counsel is allowing the jury to see this exhibit even though it has not been entered into evidence yet.
I'm going to let him show it to the witness, and if he inadvertently turns it toward the jury, that's fine. That's a minor matter, so overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So is this a fair and accurate representation of what you have chirped?
Yes, it is.
And are there any apparent changes with any of these documents?
No.
Mr. Graham, can you please read us what you chirped on?
Objection, Your Honor. This exhibit has not been
Your
entered into
Honor.
evidence.
The objection is sustained.
Your Honor, I would like to offer Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Any objections to one?
Yes, Your Honor, in proper foundation.
How so?
The opposing counsel has not established that these documents were made at or near the time of events in this case.
Okay, counsel, you want to respond to that?
Your Honor, they have the dates on here, and
Okay.
Mr. Graham has seen them.
The objection's overruled.
Thank you,
The
Your Honor.
exhibit is admitted.
Thank you.
One is in.
Mr. Graham, can you please read us what you chirped on June 18th?
Gladly. Jackie Gleason and I are headed back from Yorba Island, and we can't wait for all of you to join us on June 29th. Hashtag Satire Spectacle is going to crush expectations. If you've been waiting to buy tickets or to upgrade your tickets, you better get on board if there is any left.
So on that same day that you saw the state of the island, you chirped out that that Satire Spectacle will crush expectations and to buy upgrade tickets?
Yes, because it's part of my contract to do so.
So on the day of the event, did you go?
No.
And the reason why is because a friend of yours was in rehab, right?
Yes, and I just had to attend to that.
And this interruption comes right before you would have taken major backlash from the Satire Spectacle's failure?
Well, I mean, getting admitted into rehab isn't just something that you can put a date on.
And Mr. Graham, do you think your advertising is a reason why Ms. Carlin George attended
Objection, Your Honor.
Spectacle?
This question calls for speculation.
Okay, counsel response?
It is clear to her she obviously advertised for this, and Ms. Carlin George has already delivered her direct and crosses.
All right. I thought I heard him ask the witness, did you think? In other words, what the witness thinks. Did you hear that?
No, Your Honor. I heard him ask the witness if Carlin George would rely on her statements.
Okay, he may have said that. I'm going to sustain, but I think you can work around it. The witness can testify as to what she knows or observes.
Did you re-chirp Miss George's one of Miss George's chirps on Chirpster?
Yes, I did.
So, having that basis, do you think that your advertising affected her?
Well, just with that, I can't just think that
It's a yes or no question. Do you think your advertising affected her by the knowledge of the fact that you were able to re-chirp something about the Satire Spectacle?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound question.
Yes, compound. Break it up, counsel. Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Miss George chirped something about the Satire Spectacle, correct?
Yes.
And you re-chirped that, right?
Yes, I did.
So, by that knowledge, do you think your advertising affected her?
Well, in one way, probably.
So, is that a yes?
Yes.
And are you aware that Miss Carlin George got sick when she went to the island?
Yes, sadly I am.
So, do you think that because of your actions, Miss Carlin George ended up getting sick?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I'm asking.
He did ask, do you think this time? Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Could you please re-ask the question?
Do you think that because of your actions, Miss Carlin George got sick?
Well, I didn't make her do anything on the island that would make her sick.
But your advertising did affect her, and it did affect her, right? For the satire spectacle, you're advertising for the satire spectacle.
Objection, Your Honor, compound question.
Compound question, sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
But you do agree that your advertising for the satire spectacle did affect Miss Carlin George, correct?
In one way or another, yes.
That's all the questions I have. I pass witness.
You're right.
Briefly, Your Honor, may I proceed?
Okay.
Mr. Graham, what knowledge do you have of construction practices?
Absolutely none. I'm an influencer.
What knowledge do you have of event timeline setup?
None.
Where did you get all of your information about the progress of the satire spectacle from?
I was constantly reassured by Chase Ford that everything was going fine.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with Exhibit 1?
You may.
Mr. Graham, on June 18th, why did you say that the satire spectacle was going to crush expectations?
Because that day when I was talking to Chase Ford, he told me that we were about to reach our ticket sale, like the amount that we wanted to sell. So I just thought that that meant everything was going fine.
Would you also say that influenced the latter part of your chirp where you urged people to upgrade or purchase their tickets?
Yes, it did.
Mr. Graham, what is your opinion on the sickness that was suffered by the plaintiff?
Well, I didn't really have much to do with it
And why do you believe that?
because I wasn't at the island that day.
Your Honor, past witness.
Recross.
Yes, Your Honor. Quick recross. Mr. Graham, you saw a blog from Jason Pierce, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, this is outside of the scope of my redirect.
Overruled.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
You saw a blog from Mr. Jason Pierce, correct?
Yes, I did, but I had to block it out immediately.
Right, and when on June 20th, this is on Exhibit 1, did you say, quote, "Don't believe the naysayers, they're just jelly. You need to be at hashtag satire spectacle." Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
And by naysayers, did you mean people like Jason Pierce?
Well, yes, anybody who was speaking like derogatory about the event.
Your Honor, that's all I have. I pass the witness.
Witness is excused. You may step down. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Jackie Gleason to the stand. May I proceed with direct examination?
You may.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, my name is Jackie Gleason, and technically I'm 42, but I like to tell people I'm 39, 95, plus shipping and handling.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Gleason?
Well, people tell me I'm a red carpet celebrity in comedy.
What does being a red carpet celebrity in comedy entail?
I perform stand-up routines at high-profile events such as celebrity birthday parties.
How did you get into comedy?
Well, I've always had a knack for making people laugh, and I was even voted most funny in high school. And after my third freshman year in college, I decided that it was time to pursue my true path of comedy. Because I just always knew that one of these days I'd make it.
As a comedian, what was your most recent event?
Well, it was supposed to be satire spectacle.
What do you mean by was supposed to be?
Unfortunately, the event kind of fell apart due to the lack of supplies, preparation, things like that.
How did you get involved with the satire spectacle?
My good friend Naylor Stagram asked me to be roasted by some of my fellow comedians as the main event.
Who's Naylor?
Naylor is my really good friend and a social media influencer.
How did you meet Mr. Graham?
I met Naylor because I was hired to perform at her birthday party, and we just kind of became instant friends. She helped me get more followers on Chirpster, and I helped her deal with the jealous naysayers.
Who is in charge of the satire spectacle?
Chase Ford.
Who's Chase Ford?
Chase Ford is an event organizer, so he plans events such as the satire spectacle.
When did you meet Chase Ford?
I met Chase when Naylor and I went to tour the island before the event.
How did you get to the island?
We went by helicopter and we landed at this makeshift helipad.
What did you see once you got to the island?
Well, they had kind of only set up for about half the people expected to attend, and the stage wasn't done yet, but the stage was usually the last thing set up at my events, and there was plenty of room for the rest to be done.
And as soon as you got to the island, what did you do?
Well, Naylor and I hiked across the island to the compound.
What's the compound?
The compound is where Chase had all of her VIP guests, such as myself, staying.
What did you do once you got to the compound?
I took a tour with Naylor, and then I had to step out for 20 or 30 minutes.
What happened after this tour?
Well, I stepped out to take my phone call.
And you said this phone call lasted 20 to 30 minutes. What happened after these 20 to 30 minutes?
I went back into the room where Naylor and Chase were, and it was time to go.
What happened after it was time to go?
On the way out, back to the helicopter, I expressed that the event looked a little bit behind schedule to Naylor.
And to the best of your impression, how did Naylor react to this?
I was reassured that the event was right on schedule.
And directing your attention to the second time Jackie gets on the island, how did you get there this time?
We went by helicopter, but this time I landed on brand new helipads at the compound.
Who did you go with?
I went with some of my fellow comedians.
And for clarification purposes for the jury, was Naylor with you this time?
Unfortunately, not. Naylor planned to be there, but at the last second she had to visit a friend in rehab.
What's your opinion on Naylor?
Naylor's a really good person. She's really helped me out to get more followers on Chirpster, and she's especially trustworthy for protecting the privacy of her friend.
And going back in general to the second time you got to the island, what did you do this time?
I went up to the observation deck to see how the event was proceeding.
What did you see?
At first it seemed like everything was proceeding fine, but later chaos broke loose.
Can you expand on what you mean by chaos?
Well, the event was just kind of falling apart. My performance was even canceled, and people were just running around like crazy.
How did you react to these series of events?
I texted Naylor to get me out of there.
Why did you text Naylor?
Well, I figured if anyone could help me out of that event, it was Naylor. I really trust her.
And talking about this day specifically, did anything happen after that?
Well, this huge monsoon hit the island later that night.
Was this monsoon expected?
No, not at all.
And to conclude my direct, how did you eventually get off the island?
The next day I flew off, and boy were my arms tired.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Gleason, you stated that you got your job at the satire spectacle because of Miss Instagram, correct?
Yes, Naylor asked me to perform.
And would you say that you and Miss Instagram are best friends?
I'd say that we were really close friends.
Do you think that someone would defend their really close friend?
Well, of course I'm going to defend Naylor, but I'm not going to lie for her if that's what you're implying.
I was just asking a general question. Do you think someone would defend their best friend?
Sure.
And do you think that someone's opinion may be biased?
I guess it would depend on the friendship.
So, do you think...
Objection, speculation?
I'm asking for her opinion.
Which she is doing, overruled on speculation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, do you think that your opinion would be biased?
I mean, no.
Objection, Your Honor. They just gave her the answer.
Pardon?
They just said no.
Your Honor, I didn't verbally state anything.
And it's also loud.
And as she is my witness, we work together and we're proving the fraud.
Well, okay, time out, folks. What do you think you either heard or saw?
I heard somebody back there say, no, no.
Counselor?
We were talking to each other.
Okay. I did not hear or see coaching of the witness from the council table, So I'm going to overrule that, but I'm going to be alert to it.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you, Your Honor.
So, let me say this again. Do you think your opinion is biased in any way?
No, I don't.
Pass a witness.
Redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Ms. Gleason, I'm going to ask you one question. Would you lie for Naylor?
No, I would not.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Recross?
No, Your Honor.
Witness is excused. You may step down. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Sean Wallace to the stand. May I proceed with direct examination, Your Honor?
You may.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name's Sean Wallace. I'm 38 years old and I live in Pawnee, Texoma with my wife and 5 kids, 3 of which are humans, 2 of which are dogs, Abbott and Costello.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the owner of First Class Entertainment LLC. We cater food, drinks, and apparel to events.
And finally, why are you here to testify today?
I'm here to testify because my business went bankrupt due to Chase Ford keeping everyone involved in the satire spectacle in the dark.
Just to clarify for the jury, who is Chase Ford?
Chase Ford's the creator of Satire Spectacle.
What was the satire spectacle?
Satire Spectacle was a comedy event to be held on Yarborough Island.
And going back, how did you initially get involved with the satire spectacle?
I guess everything started when Chase Ford contacted me in early February of 2018.
To the best of your knowledge, why did Chase Ford initially contact you?
He wanted an estimate for food and apparel for his event.
And for a proper estimate to be made, what information do you need at First Class? What information do you need?
I usually need the date, the approximate number of attendees, and the types of food and drinks that they would like for us to supply.
And what information was provided to you by Chase Ford?
Well, he wasn't able to give me all of the pieces to the puzzle, but he did approximate about 5,000 attendees, and after a week, I sent him the original estimate.
What happened after you sent Chase Ford the original estimate?
She added substantially more apparel than I had included in the original estimate. We also added 800 cases of water, and after these revisions, I sent her another estimate with the required 40% down payment.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to approach the witness with what has previously been marked as Exhibit 11.
Granted.
Let the record reflect that I am tendering this document to opposing counsel for identification purposes only. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you. Can you please identify this document?
Yes, this is the contract between Chase Ford and I.
And how do you know about this document?
I created this document.
Has this document been made at or near the time of the events?
It has.
And has it been changed, altered, or modified in any way?
There is some changes in the bottom right-hand corner, but that's usually what I do when a customer asks for a revision to the order.
And after that initial change, have there been any changes made since then?
No.
And has this document been made in your regularly conducted course of business?
Yes.
And has this been kept in your regularly conducted course of business?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to move what has previously been marked as Exhibit 11 into evidence.
Are there any objections to 11? There being no objections to 11, 11 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And how much was this exact 40% down payment that you sent to Chase Ford?
The down payment was $240,100.71.
And what happened after you sent Chase Ford this down payment proposal?
She didn't want to pay the down payment because they were in the process of raising money and couldn't afford to put this much money down.
And what did you do about Chase Ford not wanting to pay the money at that point?
I didn't want to let this potential business fizzle out, so I compromised with her and I told him that the only way I could proceed was if there was some sort of guarantee of the event's success.
And did Chase Ford end up getting this guarantee for the event's success?
She was able to get Jackie Gleason and Naylor Stagram for the event.
And after Chase Ford got Naylor Stagram and Jackie Gleason on board, what happened next?
Well, initially we had a verbal agreement, but then I created a written document which I sent to her, and she sent back signed the next morning. And after this, First Class Entertainment could begin with the preparations.
What did you at First Class Entertainment do to prepare for this event?
We had 10 weeks until the festival, but to be safe, we put in a rush order for the apparel and processed the order for the VIP and specialty items. We also ordered the gourmet food at this time.
And how was the order progressing at that point?
Chase did make a few changes, but it was nothing out of the ordinary.
When was the food order specifically set to arrive?
The food order was set to arrive on June 27th, after the other items.
Just to clarify for the jury, what were these other items?
A week before we received the food, we also received nearly 20,000 water bottles.
And what was happening, if anything, regarding your business?
My employees are reading an online blog about the satire spectacle and how it was destined for failure.
How did you react to your employees reading this?
I read the blog myself about 3 times, and I'll admit that I got a little worried, so I contacted Chase the next morning to discuss the status of the remaining shipments.
And what did you and Chase discuss?
We discussed how things were going from both of our ends, and a cost issue, and now she wanted to change the entire food order to include cheap food.
And how long before the event did Chase Ford change the food shipment up?
This occurred less than 2 weeks before the event.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness once again with what has already been entered as Exhibit 11?
You may.
And how much was the exact initial payment that you had to pay for the first food order?
The gourmet food costed $184,100.47.
And how much did the additional food, the second food order, cost?
The cheap food shipment costed $56,125.12.
So before this food order change was made, how much did you have to pay from yourself?
The original total was $600,251.78.
And after the second food order was added on, how much did you end up paying?
In the end, I ended up paying a total of $656,376.90.
And how much were you actually paid by Chase Ford for providing
The supplies for the event.
I received less than $5,000 from Chase Ford.
And going back, what did you do when Chase Ford requested for this order change?
Given the time we had, I conferred with my supervisor about our options, and we thought that it was going to be next to impossible to supply this amount of food in such a short amount of time, so we tried to contact her for 2 full days, but we never heard back.
How did you react to that?
I'll admit that I started to feel like the blog that I read might be right, and I was tempted to cancel the whole order.
And did you end up canceling the whole order?
No, I was nervous about what Instagram could say.
Why were you nervous about what Instagram might say?
Well, I knew that she had fame and that bad publicity could potentially hurt my business.
And going forward, when did the second food order shipment arrive?
On June 26th.
And what, if anything, did you notice about this shipment?
We noticed that we didn't have any hamburger or hot dog buns, so we sent 5 of our employees to below Costco's in the area to try and buy as many as they could possibly find.
And what happened as a result of this lack of food?
During the scramble, one of my best employees quit.
And did anything occur because of that?
Half of the cases of water never made it to the island as a result.
How did you react to these cases of water never making it to the island?
Well, I badly wanted to bail on Chase and watch the entire festival fail, but because we were in so deep with all of the gourmet food, I had to try and salvage the situation somehow.
And finally, why do you think that this event fell?
I feel like this entire event fell because Chase Ford wasn't able to give me, Instagram, or anyone who attended the satire spectacle the full picture.
Thank you. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross.
Ms. Wallace, is it true that you discussed the event? You discussed the effects of the event before it was actually properly planned out with Chase?
Yes, I did discuss things with Chase.
And you also claim that everything you provide is from high quality, or sourced from high quality boutique sellers?
Everything that I supply is from high boutique sellers because I was able to establish these relationships over the course of my years.
And as well as that, you also stated that you wanted to bail on your agreement with Mr. Murphy.
Yes, as I said in direct
And,
examination.
Though you are obligated as the provider of these goods to fulfill these obligations of your customers, correct?
Well, of course I have to do everything that the customer
But you
asks me
still
to.
claim that you wanted to bail. You still were wanting to bail on this, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. This opposing counsel is not letting my witness properly answer to the question that he asked.
Okay, counsel, you do have to let the witness answer, and then if there's something inappropriate about the answer, you can deal with that as appropriate, okay? So sustain.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you hold any contempt towards Chase?
Well, no. I mean, he did make me change the order, but that's all I would say.
Mm-hmm. And you bought a significant amount of these so-called luxury goods with no official count of how many people would actually be able to afford them, the VIPs?
For the VIP and specialty items, I ordered what Chase told me to.
Which was a rather significant amount, which you ordered with a significant amount, yes?
In my opinion, it was a significant amount, but it's what Chase Ford wanted.
And you progressed with a significant amount of goods without securing any down payment from Chase?
Yes, I did waive the down payment.
And along with that, you claim that the logistics were so erroneous that you were barely able to get the food to the docks to be brought to the island?
Well, that happened because we didn't have any hamburger or hot dog buns, which made it really hard to supply the food that they wanted.
But you are still at fault for that lack of food, for those logistical errors then, are you not? Since you were unable to provide the correct food asked?
Objection, Your Honor. This is a compound question as the attorney just asked 2 questions in one.
Okay, counsel, let's break it up. It was compound.
Yes, sir.
Sustain.
Thank you.
You were unable to provide this food because of logistical errors, correct?
Well, in the end, I did manage to get some food to the island.
And was this the food Chase ordered?
It was the cheap food shipment that he had ordered the second time.
And were you able to completely fulfill this cheap shipment?
I was able to do it as best as I could given the time that he gave me.
Were you able to fulfill the shipment as you were obligated to?
Yes.
But you also stated that you were unable to get at least 1 case of water to the island?
Well, half of the cases of water never made it to the island, but that was because of all the duress that Chase Ford put me under.
Therefore, but you therefore were unable to fulfill the obligations that were given to you.
Objection, Your Honor. This question has been asked and answered by the witness.
Overruled.
Sure.
Could you repeat your question?
Apologies. But you were unable to fulfill the quota. You were unable to fulfill the order then, correct?
Because my employee quit, half of the cases of water never made it to the island. I do accept that.
Mm-hmm. And this food that the food that you did were able to successfully provide, you deemed this unfit for human consumption?
Well, in the pictures that it showed, it was unfit, but that's not what I provided.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what is marked as Exhibit 11.
Granted.
Your Honor, Exhibit 11 has already been entered into evidence.
Right.
So it's on the list.
And it's on the witness stand as well.
Okay.
Yes. So, since you have that, would you mind reading out what is written in blue ink on the bottom right of the bill?
Cut 620, a lot of apostrophes. Savings of $155,687.50
Pardon, ma'am,
less.
sorry. Below that, under the replace with designation?
Replaced with hamburgers, hot dogs, fish sticks, buns, bread, lettuce, tomato mix. New food equals $56,125.12.
And you say you did not provide that food even though it's here on this bill?
I did provide the food, but the food that you were asking me about, which was unfit for human consumption, was in one of the exhibits, and that's not what I provided.
Was that food not, what was it, buns, bread, and lettuce and tomato mix?
Objection, Your Honor. This witness is being asked to testify into facts that are not in evidence yet.
Elaborate, please.
Your Honor, the exhibit of the food that opposing counsel is referring to has not yet been entered into evidence.
Counsel, response?
Your Honor, the witness knew about this exhibit before I even mentioned what the exhibit was. Does that not show that they had prior knowledge of this exhibit?
Where's the exhibit? What is its status? Has it been entered?
No, it's not, sir.
Has it been talked about at all?
No, sir, it's not.
Sustained. Fix that.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Regardless. I passed the witness, Your Honor.
Regret?
Yes, very briefly, Your Honor. When you saw the problems with this order, did you end up actually bailing on the event?
No, I did not bail on the event.
And why is that?
Well, I was nervous about what Instagram could say, and plus I already owed a lot of money from all the order changes that Chase made me do.
And going back a little bit, why did you waive the initial down payment?
I waived it because I thought that Jackie Gleason and Instagram provided a good guarantee for the event's success.
And going forward a little bit, why did the water shipment that opposing counsel mentioned never make it to the island?
Because during the scramble, when we were trying to buy all of the hot hamburger and hot dog buns, one of my best employees quit.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Recross?
Yes, sir. Permission to approach the witness with what is been marked as Exhibit 5.
Granted. Has it been shown to your opponent?
Do you recognize this image?
Well, that's one of the exhibits of the food that was somewhat provided to the festival.
Would you mind describing that food?
Sure. It's 2 pieces of bread, some cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, and yeah.
And does it not say on this bill that you provided them with bread, lettuce, and tomato mix?
I provided them with that,
No,
but this image I don't
just answer my
recognize.
question, please.
I did answer your question.
But you did provide them with what is apparent in that image, the bread with the lettuce tomato mix, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. This is a lack of personal knowledge, as the witness has already testified that she doesn't know, and opposing counsel is still pushing on that point.
I don't think this is a lack of personal knowledge situation, so I'll overrule that objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you have identified that what is pictured in that image is bread with the lettuce tomato mix?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. The opposing counsel has not laid the proper foundation, has not entered Exhibit 5 into evidence, and yet he's still asking questions about it and its contents.
Your Honor, I would like to pass the witness.
You don't want to finish what you're doing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that's the witness. Objection sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. And may our witness step down, Your Honor?
The witness may step down.
And may we publish all of the exhibits to the jury?
You may publish all admitted exhibits to the jury. Be careful about what's admitted.
Yes, Your Honor.
What else from defense?
The defense rests, Your Honor.
Defense having rested, we are now going to take 1 minute for you to get your thoughts together.
defense came up here at the beginning of this trial. They described to you how this whole situation. Same thing for Miss Carlin George. She had the whole puzzle together. Well, at least almost. She had the ticket, she had the spirit, and she also had the baggage packed. But what she didn't have was a piece of the truth. What she didn't have was the truth from the statement. You've heard a lot today about Chase Ford, of how they're trying to transition stuff onto Chase Ford. But don't be distracted that this case, and the reason why we're all here today, is because of Miss Instagram. Because this is a fraud case, we do not have to show that we do not have to show that she is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, unlike you see on TV all the time. What we need to show is that there is a preponderance of evidence, meaning that we just need to show you that the scales tip just a little bit, that there's enough evidence that she is liable for fraud. As a member of the jury, you're asked 4 questions. The first one being is, the defendant made a material statement of opinion as a positive assertion. She did. It is evident through her chirps about how the defendant is going to quote, expectations and that you, quote, need to be there. That she did put her opinion in those chirps, and that is how she advertised. You also be asked if the statement was based on a false fact. You also be asked, number 2, the statement was based on a false fact, which the defendant knew was false at the time of the statement, and made with the intent that a person act upon it. When she chirped out, quote, don't believe the naysayers, she knew that what Jason Pierce was saying was the truth, and that the things in it, in those pictures, were actually what the island looked like. She did not want her loyal followers to see that and her money to be lost. You also be asked number 3. The plaintiff reasonably relied on the statement and acted upon it. Now that is obvious. Carlin George said that she saw Mr. Segram's advertisements and therefore bought a ticket to attend it. And she was very excited to attend it as well. And the last question you will be asked is, as a result of such reliance, the plaintiff suffered an injury. Miss George went to the satire spectacle and got injured. She went to the satire spectacle and drank the bad water and got sick. It was at that island that she got sick. Her reliance on Mr. Segram's advertisement was the reason that she got to that island. And because she got to the island, she was sick. I trust that after you have seen the events of today's case, you will return a verdict in favor of Miss Carlin George. On behalf of myself, my team, Miss Carlin George, and our witnesses, I would like to thank you all for your time and attention on this great day.
Closing for defense.
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. When putting together a puzzle, the lack of just one piece means that you do not have a complete picture. In this case, it was the plaintiff's burden to prove to you every single element of fraud. They had to give you every piece of the puzzle. Because the plaintiff failed to do this, you cannot find my client, Naylor Segram, liable for fraud. First, they failed to prove that the defendant made a material statement of positive opinion because they didn't even present you with a statement upon which you can judge for fraud. The plaintiff, Carlin George, never actually identified for you the statement upon which she believed that she was defrauded. Because this statement, which is central to your entire decision, was never actually identified, you cannot find Naylor Segram liable for fraud. Secondly, the plaintiff failed to prove that any statements made by Naylor Segram in this case were false statements which Naylor knew were false at the time she made them, and made with the intent that someone acted upon them. In this case, you didn't hear about fallacies from my client Naylor Segram, but rather about fallacies from Chase Ford, the organizer of this event. You heard Sean Wallace tell you that Chase assured her that everything was ahead of schedule when nothing could be farther from the truth. You even heard Murphy Edwards tell you that he is furious satire spectacle. You heard my client Naylor tell you that Chase assured her everything would be fine with the event. He told her everything would be amazing, and he told her they were reaching the target ticket sales, which is exactly what was reflected in Ms. Graham's statement the day she visited them. Chase told her that the event was going to be amazing, so she told her followers that the satire spectacle was going to crush expectations. Chase told her that they were nearing on their target ticket sales, so she urged her followers to buy tickets to the event while they still could. Third, the plaintiff also failed to prove that Ms. George reasonably relied on statements made by the defendant, Naylor. You heard Carlin herself say that she took the lack of a shirt from Naylor over the lack of food on the island. She took the lack of a shirt from Naylor over the lack of tents on the island. She took the lack of a shirt from Naylor over the chaos she described on the island. She relied not on an affirmation, but the lack of any words from someone who is being paid to promote the event, which is far from reasonable reliance. Lastly, they failed to prove to you that the plaintiff suffered an injury as a result of the defendant's statement. While we are sympathetic about the injury that Ms. George suffered, we do not believe that this is due to the actions and the statement of the defendant. The monsoon that occurred was a freak storm, an act of nature, something that my client Naylor could not control. Members of the jury, the plaintiff failed to give you all the pieces you needed to put together the puzzle, and I ask you to find my client Naylor Graham not liable for fraud. Thank you.
Is there a rebuttal from the plaintiff?
There's no rebuttal, Your Honor.
Plaintiff having waived rebuttal. Captain, rise. You can ask each of you a question. It will be the same question directed to each team in sequence. For the plaintiff, do you wish to allege any tournament rules violations as against the other team in this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Same question for the defense. Do you wish to allege any tournament rules violations as against the other team?
No, Your Honor.
No rules violations have been alleged. Matter submitted. Court.
Battery died right when he said perfect. My last, all of the cameras kept dying one at a time, so I had to kind of.
That's awesome. Thank you for recording this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, my camera's battery started dying all of it one at a time because I recorded the one before this, and so I didn't have enough time to record it. But it's all here at the end. It kind of gets a little messy because I had to use my phone. But I need to get your email.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Cool.
Thank you.